Going to be worth your time. I believe it's going to be life-changing. Now, you know, in the last 18 months, the economy has tanked. And as a result of that, a lot of people are upside down on their homes. Bankruptcies are on the rise. More people are in debt than ever before, and we're spending more money than we make. Gallup has done a study that showed 64% of all families argue over money, and 74% of all families say we're not handling it wisely. Even more important for this seminar is the verse that we looked at last weekend, which is there on your outline, Luke chapter 16, verse 11. It's a handout outline, the 5 foundations of financial freedom. Luke 16, verse 11. Let's read this verse aloud together. If you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? Now, tonight and tomorrow, I've put together an all-star staff, faculty, who are going to help me as we look at all of the different aspects of getting out of debt and staying out of debt. We're going to look at how to live your life for half the price, and Mary Hunt's going to do a 2-part message on that. Dave Ramsey's going to do a message on cash flow planning. Chris Gillard and Ron Blue are going to do a message on creating a spending plan. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to do a message on the 9 steps you must take to get out of debt. And then we're going to look at Minding Your Own Mortgage, Rob Burnaby, who's written that great book. And then at the end of the day, we're going to talk about putting it all together, purpose-driven finances. I think that this will be life-changing for many of you. I remember many, many years ago, before I started Saddleback, Kay and I went to a seminar like this. It allowed us to be able to come to Southern California and start a church with no money, no members, nothing, because we had our finances in order. Now, we're going to begin this 2-day seminar tonight and tomorrow morning. And by the way, I want to welcome those who are watching online around the world. Let's all say hi to everybody. Hi, guys. We're glad you're here. By looking at what I call the 5 foundations of financial freedom. And we're going to run through this really quickly. I have taught this for 30 years. I've practiced it for 40 years. And Kay and I have built our life and our marriage, the financial aspect of our marriage, on these 5 principles, and they are habits you must develop. We're going to go into each of these in more detail tonight and tomorrow morning. Let's get right into it. 5 foundations for financial freedom. Principle number 1 is this: keep good records. You must keep good records if you're going to be financially free. Now, if you want to write this out to the side, this is called the principle of accounting. And the Bible says this in Proverbs chapter 27, verses 23 and 24. Riches can disappear fast, so watch your business interest closely. Know the state of your flocks and your herds. The Bible says you are to know the condition of your flocks. Now, in those days, of course, people were shepherds. Today, God would say, instead of know the condition of your flocks, he'd say, know the condition of your stocks. The point is, in those days, all your money was tied up in either animals or land. And so he said, you need to watch your business interests carefully. In other words, you've got to keep good records. You've got to keep track. And the starting point for getting out of debt is you've got to be aware. People say, I don't know where all my money goes. Then you're already in trouble. And I said this last weekend, money doesn't talk. It just walks away quietly. It doesn't tell you. And the Bible says, Proverbs 23:23, I love this in the Living Bible, get the facts at any price. Now let me give you a little equation. Ignorance of your financial condition plus easy credit equals disaster. Because you're spending money you don't have, and you don't really even know how much in debt you are. Now, there are 4 facts you have to know in order to be financially free. Write these down. I've got to know what I own, what I owe, what I earn, and where it goes. Let me say it again. I have to know what I own. That's my assets. I have to know what I owe. That's how much debt do I really have. I have to know what I earn, and I have to know where I go. Now, many of marriage problems happen because one spouse keeps the other spouse in the dark without, withholding information. You need to write it all down. You need to keep a log. Maybe you need to get some software like Quicken or QuickBooks or something. People say, well, I don't have time to keep a record. Do you have time to worry about your finances? If you spend all the time keeping good records that you spend worrying, you wouldn't have to worry. So the starting point is you must keep good records, the principle of accounting. Principle number 2 we're going to talk about this weekend is plan your spending. Plan your spending. This is the second foundation of financial freedom. This is the principle of budgeting. The principle of you have to set some financial goals, and then you have to stick with them. And you just don't go through each year just drifting around, spending and guessing and wondering, where it all went. You have to keep good records, and you have to plan your spending. Now, the Bible says in Proverbs 21, verse 5, plan carefully, and you will have plenty. If you act too quickly, you will never have enough. Now, he's saying here that financial freedom is not determined, listen to this very closely, financial freedom is not determined by how much you make. Financial freedom is determined by how much you spend. You can be financially free on a whole lot less than you think you can. Kay and I were financially free living on $800 a month when I was going after my master's degree at seminary. It's not based on how much you make, it's based on how much you spend. And so freedom comes not from making more. Freedom comes from spending less, and you have to plan your spending. Now, the average American spends about 6 hours a week in shopping-related activities. Some of you far more than that. You're way above average. In fact, studies show, this is interesting, that the more educated you are, the more you shop. So some of you are extremely educated. I know about that. You say, where were you educated? I was educated at U of N, the University of Nordstrom, and I'm working on my advanced degree there. Now, notice on that verse, I want you to circle, it says, if you act too quickly, you'll never have enough. Circle act too quickly. What's that talking about? One of the key causes of debt is acting too quickly. And what is that? Well, sociologists call it this, impulse buying. That's what acting too quickly is. I see it and I want it. And you act too quickly. You didn't plan to buy it. How many times have you gone into a store and you see something, you weren't planning to buy it, but you acted too quickly, and impulse buying caused you to, based on emotions, do unplanned spending without thinking. Now let's just have a little true confession. How many of you have ever bought something you didn't plan to buy? Okay. How many of you later regretted it? Yeah. And then ended up paying for it for a long, long time. Almost 100% of all the advertisements in the world today are geared to get you to do impulse buying. The whole society is geared toward get you to act too quickly. And they appeal to your emotions, and there is one word that becomes almost irresistible. It is the word sale. That's right. It is the word sale. And it's on sale. Well, you don't need it, but it's on sale. But I can't afford it, but it's on sale. Now, I want us to read with great enthusiasm Proverbs 21:20 in today's English version. Read it with me. Stupid people spend their money as fast as they get it. Some of you need to put that on your refrigerator. Actually, you need to tape it to your credit card. And if you're not planning your spending, then you're going to spend your money as fast as you get it. And I want to tell you, spending can be like any other addiction. People say, well, I can handle this, I can handle it. And pretty soon you're deep in hock, and you're deeply in debt, and you have become a shopaholic. Now, how do you break the habit of impulse spending? Because that's how you got in debt. By buying things you really didn't need or hadn't planned on buying, but you saw it and you wanted it and you bought it quickly. How do you break that habit? You spell relief, B-U-D-G-E-T. A budget is how you break planned spending. As I said last weekend, a budget is telling your money where you want it to go rather than wondering where it went. When you have a budget, you're in control of your money. It's not controlling you. Right now, your money controls you because you're deeply in debt and you can't keep up with it. But if you have a budget, you're telling your money where you want it to go rather than wondering where it went. And so if you want to get out of debt, the second principle is you got to nip it in the budget. As Barney Fife used to say, nip it, nip it, nip it, okay? And what we're going to do, we're actually going to do a workshop tonight and tomorrow in 2 parts on helping you develop the starting point of a budget for you personally or for your family. Now, a budget should be a matter of prayer. It should be a matter of mutual decision and